Todd, thank you so much for being on Can't Shovel Hurricanes. We already had a little bit of a conversation just to set the table before, and you're probably one of the most unique individuals that I've had on, just because of your wide array of experiences in your life. And I want you to touch on a bunch of those things, but it's a common thread in hockey world. That kind of, the hockey community, although it seems really big, it's really not. And once you're immersed into it in some way, shape, or form, you make these connections, and it's like a brotherhood, right? So we were introduced by somebody who was on the podcast, Nikita, and automatically hit it off. Tell me something. How long have you been in Florida, or in South Florida?
South Florida, 20 years, going on 21 next June.
So, but you're not originally a Floridian. No one's really an original Floridian. Very few people are.
That's another story, but I'll touch upon it. When I was 18, my good friend Tom Bavona, his mom built a resort in Marathon Key called Fairbanks.
Where's Marathon Key?
Marathon Key is about halfway down. It's probably one of the most commercialized of the keys, besides Key West. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's right before the 7 Mile Bridge. And when we were like 18, he invited me down there. I spent a month down there in the Keys and just absolutely fell in love with Florida. You know, we would go out into the backside and the Gulf side, you know, skin diving, scuba diving, fishing, you name it. And I just knew that this was a place that I really loved. Incidentally, my mother said, you know, you were made on Marathon Key.
Oh, really?
So when you said, if no one's from Florida, I can say that maybe I was. I don't know. But so anyways, yeah, so it was kind of like a salmon coming back to spawn. It was. I knew I was going to end up here eventually.
I've never heard anyone use that analogy. It's amazing.
Anyways.
Do you fish?
I do.
Often?
Do. Big fish, yeah. Grew up, my parents had a boat every weekend in Connecticut. We would, on the weekends during the summer, you had like 12 or 13 weekends. You would go down there on a Friday, fish, crab, clam. I was a water person. And once the family got too big, we decided to get a cottage and a smaller boat, so that it's up in Mystic. So I've been up in Mystic for 30-something years, house on the water there. I bring my kids back there every year for the last 30 years. It's a part of my life. I just love the water, and Florida just has it all. So Instead of only having 12 or 13 weekends a year up there north, sure, you've got 52 down here. So it's just another reason why I love Florida.
Before we moved down here, we were buying a cottage up north, just north of Toronto. It's got amazing, the riches that Canada has when it comes to untouched wildlife, and it's just incredible. Sure. So it was one of our dreams to have a place on the water, and then big pivot, COVID changed the world and a lot of things within it. Yep. We just came back to last weekend. We went up to North Carolina. I have a cottage right on the lake. Mm-hmm. Took the kids fishing.
Love it.
It was amazing. It's something that I grew up loving to do. I don't have the time to do it nearly as much. And mm-hmm. there's a big difference between freshwater to saltwater fishing, big game. But holy man, if there's one place that I feel at peace, it's with a fishing rod somewhere out in the middle of the lake and just hanging back. Some of the best memories I have with my late dad and stuff is revolved around fishing.
It's the best. Growing up after school, there was a pond and a lake behind us. My cousin, I'll touch upon later, we used to meet at this pond and we'd fish every day. So that started the freshwater fishing, and then on the weekends, his parent had a boat, we had a boat, and we'd be fishing saltwater, during every weekend. And now down here, if you haven't caught a peacock bass down here, if you haven't heard of them, right?
I've heard of them. I've never went fishing in Florida.
It's the prettiest fish in the freshwater world, anyways, down here. So they brought them up from either South America or Central America, and it's just an amazing fish. So they still have all the bass. And
is it an eating fish?
You don't really eat the bass, either one of them. It's more of just a catch and release type of thing. But it's just a prettier fish than the regular bass that they have up here.
I just had my kids fish for the first time, and what thing we were astounded on the most is that we thought the kids would crave technology, TV. Our kids don't have phones yet. They walked out of the cottage at 9 a.m., came back at 6 p.m., built forts, started fires, went fishing. They explored. They brought all kinds of leaves and rocks and collected them the whole time. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is what a kid actually wants to do.
Sure.
Right. And they were active. And then they came back with a ferocious appetite. As you know, like being out in the fresh air and stuff like that. Like if you're eating outside, it's the absolute best.
It's the best. My daughters, 2 daughters, you know, they always say it's a boy thing to go out and do everything, but I brought them crabbing up in Mystic. They're 24 and 28 now, and they still can't wait to go crabbing.
Sure.
You know, they're getting married. One guy just got married in Ireland. The other one's getting married in North Carolina in April. But they can't wait to get up to Mystic for that 1 week and let's go hop in the boat and go crabbing. And it's like, you know, it's a good feeling that it's not all about scrolling, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing.
I got 2 daughters as well, and I don't treat any one of them differently from like what their limitations are, what I think they can or should do. Let them choose. We show them the way and get the fuck out of it.
Absolutely.
There's the ways I raise them from a dad's perspective, of course, but because we are not the same, regardless of what everyone wants to tell you. Like boys and girls are different, and they have different things that they interest them.
Sure.
But on that note, like if my kids love this, it's like absolutely I'm going to have a cottage very, very soon. But I still have to get acclimatized here and into the way of life, because once you cross the border from Canada to the United States, you assume that there's a lot of similarities. And the only thing we actually share is a language. And even that I get made fun of. I say that they say I have an accent. I'm like, no, you have an accent.
Yeah.
Right? Z, about, you know, process versus process, all kinds of stuff. I get it all the time.
It's all fun.
Yeah. But the thing that everyone says Canadians are friendlier, I'd say Americans are friendlier.
Oh, okay.
Canadians are just a lot more polite.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Okay.
It's more run and gun here versus in Canada. They'll hold the door for you when you good old Canadian standoff. You know, like who's going to go in the door first.
Okay.
But no, Americans have been really amazing. This is a wonderful place.
Great.
The common conversation that I had, because I've been around hockey world. My brother had 3 boys playing, you know, AAA the whole way up. One's still going. And when I moved down here and my kid plays, they're like, what's hockey like in South Florida? And I'm like, it is way better than you think and growing. It's totally in the come up.
Yep.
But you've been here long enough, and I want to know about your hockey journey and what brought you down here. And then tell me your perspective about where you see amateur hockey here, where it's been, where it's going, you know, like just data dump. Tell me.
Sure. Data dump. It's a long story. I've been playing for 52 years, which is unbelievable. And it started
52 years.
52 years, and I play 3 or 4 nights a week still. It's like
junkie.
The use it or lose it, you know, comes around, and you know it's.
I'm a product of the lose it.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that when I do go up north, and no knock on any of my friends or anything like that, but. You know, it's like they're preparing for the end already, and I'm like all about yes, let's go do things. And when they say they hung them up, it's like, to me, it's like unfortunate, because I just absolutely love the game. I love getting out there. It's always a team camaraderie thing. You know, You're with the guys, and from that networking and social activity, everything kind of comes.
People
from
understate the networking, how important it is.
Yeah, and I'll get into that. The group that I am involved with as well. But getting back to kind of where it started, 5 years old, Connecticut, my aunt and uncle were owners in a rink in Cheshire, Connecticut. And unbeknownst to me, my first coach was Jack Leach, which is Brian Leach's father. And
is he any good?
Yeah, he's won a few awards.
Yeah, he's done all right.
What a great family. That whole community. It was like every single day you lived with this group of people. You know as well as I do. You become a hockey dad or parent. That becomes your life.
You marry into another like group.
Yeah, and but it becomes a family. You know what I mean? So it's like if I can't pick up my kid, or someone else is always there to help
I
you.
just had it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I had to turn to one of the families and say, "Can you drop my kids off?"
And it's
like, no problem.
And it's like you trust them overnight.
Yes.
And I also say that, and I'll get back to this, but you also say that having lived in Connecticut, California, and here, I could move to any city in the country, go to a hockey rink, jump on a men's league team, and I would have 10 friends overnight, because we're all from the same mold.
Well said.
We all, enjoy the same things. We have a low tolerance for, lack of a better word, douchebags. If someone's a bad apple, pretty much everyone's like, this guy's either out of here, or, he gets shunned, and it's like, it's a bright light of like, it's not acceptable behavior. There's a reason why hockey players are kind of the only sport that you can fight in, because we're self-policed, and it's like, if you get out of line, it's not going to be the league that disciplines you, which they will, but we're going to whack you in the head and put you back in line. You're not going to, it's an unacceptable behavior. So that goes all the way down. It's something that's instilled from a very young age. I always think about or watch, like, he used to have that meme about LeBron. They do an interview with him, and everything is I, and then they do the guy that won the Stanley Cup from a hockey team. It's all we. And that's what I love about that hockey brotherhood. So
it's a very unique, like that locker room culture that you talked about. I was playing for about 10 years, and then I had to stop, kids, life, all that stuff. I regret that decision very much, because I went on to play with another team, and it was just a ragtag bunch of guys that nobody else wanted. I'm like, we didn't care about the wins. When we were on the ice, we wanted to win. But in the locker room, we were laughing before, we were joking around after, we all did business with one another, we trusted one another, and it was like 10 years that build, like, that was your time to just get away from everything else and just silence it. And it's an amazing culture.
Sure.
Hockey culture is, I don't know anything about other sports, and I'm sure they have these same commonalities amongst other things, but it just seems to me that there's much more long-term relationships formed vis-a-vis hockey than in any other sport. I'm not speaking out of experience anywhere else, but I do know that is factual for hockey.
Absolutely. So getting back to, growing up in Cheshire, playing with Brian Leach on my line, absolutely amazing. I could go on for days with stories about him. He was very talented. The one thing that I think, his father was an All-American out of Boston College, so having that as a coach and a father, it certainly helps you. But I take nothing away from him. He was just a determined kid that was highly talented, that it was great to grow up alongside him and watch that happen. I remember we were at a tournament in Quincy, Mass, when the Miracle on Ice was happening, and there was 12 kids in a room watching the Olympics, and it was a huge, obviously, moment for the U.S. Unbeknownst to me, I'm sitting next to the guy that's going to be on the team in 8 years, which was phenomenal. And then he became captain, on and on. We know his story. But his family's been very nice to me. He's invited me to different things, from Gretzky's last game to his jersey retirement party to passes down to meet the guys. So he's just been phenomenal. So, but coming back around again, growing up in Connecticut, I then ended up at Avonall Farms, a hockey factory. Brian went there. Trevor Zegras. Jonathan Quick.
Never heard of it.
It's one of the biggest powerhouses in New England. There's a few other ones. It's known as a hockey factory. John Gardner, he's just phenomenal. They attract great talent. It's well disciplined. It's an all boys school. So had a great time there. I ended up going to Quinnipiac. Did very well there. Great team, great guys. A lot of good things came out of Quinnipiac. I'm very involved with them. They're the reigning national champions right now. I'm probably one of their biggest fans. Have done a lot of things with that with Quinnipiac in regards to our coach at the time that we had passed away. We started an endowment fund. I helped start a group that would mentoring kids. So we would assign them kind of guys that were in the 80s and before them, that were basically in their class. What do they call them? Whatever they're going into their shit.
I wouldn't be able to help you.
No. I'm thinking of like when you take management, business, or whatever. Whatever.
Graduating class or
Yeah, no, whatever. God, I lost my thought.
degree?
Yeah. So whatever the degree is in,
Right.
whatever they're
Okay.
going after. I'm sorry. So they try to patch them in with guys that were similar to them, so that when they did get out of school, if they weren't going to become pros,
Right.
they had someone, a network to start talking to. So I would, guys would say, hey, I heard you're pretty good at this. I'd put a profile of them on my LinkedIn, shoot it out, and I've got like 17,000 followers, and all of a sudden, they'd pick up a lead or a job or whatever. So
That's amazing, and I'll tell you why I see that. I know a lot of guys that played have been drafted. Some of them in the later rounds. Now they're at camps 2 years in a row. Can't find a spot on some lineups. You just can't crack, regardless of how good you are.
Yep.
And they get depressed, and
Yeah.
they don't know what they're doing next.
Yeah.
And that is wow. I'm gonna make sure to have a lot of people connect with you on that level, because they don't understand. This is what they've done their whole lives. This has been their dream, and you gotta have to mourn the loss.
Yeah.
If you don't decide to go, you could play pro in other places, but like if you were drafted by an NHL franchise and you didn't crack a lineup, it's tough.
I've been around it after I graduated, my whole career of knowing guys in the NHL that when the show is over, it's a tough time. So
Sure.
whether it's drinking, drugs, depression, you name it, I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of them turn their lives around, when they get involved with. I think that's one of the things that the hockey group does do is when you kind of see a man down, you don't leave the man behind. We all rallied together to try to help that person.
Amazing.
And it's what I love about the hockey community. So
You're giving back a lot to something that
it's just it's
been a part of your life.
It's a part of my life, but it's I don't look for recognition. I do it for I just love the game, and I love all the people around it. And it comes from what you taught very young from hockey, which is help the guy next to you.
Yeah.
So it's we all have it in us. I'm just I just try a little harder, I guess, to try to make things happen for people because I enjoy it so much.
I tell my kids, because I say doing something kind is also a selfish act, because when you do it right, you feel a lot of satisfaction from it, and so you should.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you care more about the person beside you, most people will appreciate that to the nth degree. The one or two people that will take advantage of you, unfortunately, will scar you.
Yep.
It shouldn't stop you from continuously doing good things.
Never.
Yesterday, ironically, in the change room, Ryan Clough is on the ice. His son is my son's teammate, and he's incredibly senior with the Rangers. He's got a wealth of hockey experience, and he had arguably the toughest job in hockey. Right? He could do both. He can score. He could fight. But somebody would mention, we saw videos of you giving it to a bunch of guys on YouTube. The kids were watching it. And then my son goes, hey, why'd you punch somebody in the face? And he said, if somebody's picking on one of your teammates or somebody around you, you have to stand up for them.
Absolutely.
That was his response. And they're just like,
Yeah.
what a lesson you just taught my kid.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of those people that have done that. I certainly was not a fighter, but if you're going after my friend, it could very well be my family. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not going to happen. I mean, if they're going mano a mano, that's one thing, and it's like, okay, you won or lost. But if there's anything that's dirty, or if it's something,
You just got to go.
yeah, you got to go. So
Yeah. Your own teammates will look down on you if you don't, right? Because they know they can go to war with you.
absolutely, absolutely.
Hockey's unique like that. A lot of life lessons on that ice. A lot of life lessons in practice. Your body language, your tone, all that stuff.
Yep.
It's really, hockey is absolutely fascinating.
Sure.
It's a beautiful sport, and if you watch it with the right set of eyes, you're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is something.
Yep.
So you came down here after Quinnipiac. What did you do?
Okay, so after Quinnipiac, it was kind of like my last game. I think I cried because I knew it was over.
Of course.
I was at a D2 school, and even though I set all these records and everything, I had like one look from Montreal at one point. Someone told me the guy was in the stands, but never heard anything from him. After I graduated, I got onto a U.S. select team. We went over to Germany. There was a bunch of D1 players as well as some draftees. Ron Wilson from the NHL was our coach. We played against Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. One of the highlights of my career, playing in front of 15,000 people. And they billed us as Team USA. We weren't Team USA, but it was like a U.S. select team with Kurt Klein and Doris and some guys out of Providence College that took us over there. That was just a great experience. It was kind of like my last hurrah. When I got back, I went into the stock brokerage business. And so when I knew it was over, it was let's use my degree and start building the business empire. So was in that for a while, for about 4 years. At the time I was married, we decided to move to California. I had an opportunity to buy a brokerage firm out there. We moved out there. The deal fell through, but we liked California, so we stayed out there.
Where in California?
San Jose, Silicon Valley. Right. And, this is where the entrepreneur / business guy started everything that I knew. So Silicon Valley, it was the boom and bust that I lived through out there. Going back to the hockey thing, I'm playing with the CEO of Netscape, the CEO of this company. There was VCs. I met, I've got these billionaire type friends that made millions and billions of dollars out there that I got to play hockey with. They let me pitch my company to them. I'm in Sequoia Capital. Normally I wouldn't get in the door, but because the guy played hockey against me, I'll give you a shot. So, and they taught me a tremendous amount. So for 9 years, when I was out there, I did end up buying a brokerage firm. We raised $3.5 million. It's where I learned, the business, how to build a company. So I took a lot of that knowledge, and for the past 30 years, I've helped companies write business plans, do their projections, build teams, raise the capital, and launch companies. And I'll get into what I'm involved with next. But out in California, getting back to the hockey side, roller hockey was really big out there. And so I guess right before I moved, I was on this RHI pro roller hockey team. I had a cup of coffee there. But I loved hockey so much. When they brought a team to the town, it was like, sure, I'll try out. I tried out. I made the team and played for a few games, but they were going on the road. I had a full-time business. I'm like, it's not going to work out. So back to California. Pro Beach Hockey comes around. So Pro Beach Hockey is this, they built a rink on Huntington Beach, and they put these ramps at the end, and they signed a deal with ESPN. So from 98, 99, 2000, they played roller hockey out there. They'd fly me down. We got like a small stipend, it was a few grand or something over the summer. They filmed 4 weekends in a row, and then they'd play on ESPN all night long. They used to call it the Ocho. They'd be on ESPN 2 or 3 at 4 in the morning. And I'd get calls from back east at 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, dude, I'm watching you on TV. It was cool and it was fun, but great time. Just hockey's been my life. Every single aspect of it, it touches upon it. But they're actually doing a documentary on it. They just filmed a documentary on it, and they're shopping it around right now. So that'll probably come out on one of the streaming videos pretty soon. But
cool.
Yeah. So fast forward, the boom and bust of the internet. So I'm out there doing
you were there in the .com burst.
Yeah. The burst. So 2001, the beginning of 2001, all of a sudden, the rails came off. All the companies that were getting funded that had like air in them. That all came to roost. So both my clients that were trading with us started to leave. The investors were getting their portfolios killed, so there was no more money coming in the door for that. So I decided to sell the company and get out of the business at the right time. So we got out, sold it, and after a year or two there in Silicon Valley, decided to move to Florida because high cost of living there. There was, the market was sideways, wasn't a lot of jobs available. So, but I always loved Florida. A funny story about California, when I first moved out there, like the first weekend, I'm like, let's go to the beach. I go to the beach, I put my toe in the water, and I'm like, what is this? It's 55 degrees. I'm like, this isn't Baywatch. There's nobody running around in bikinis. I'm like, I didn't realize, and this is how dumb I was, that the water's freezing out there. And me being a water person and living on the water, it's like, what am I going to do out here? I mean, yeah, I can climb a mountain, I can hike, and I can do all that, but water was like my life. So there was limited amounts of fishing. Scuba diving, you had to put on a dry suit. It was just freezing. So that was kind of the start of the end of California for me. It literally was. And the other thing was it was a little slower out there. So West Coast, East Coast. East Coast is a little bit more, let's go get things done and let's go have fun. Happy hour kind of didn't exist out there, and I'm a happy hour. Let's go get social and have some fun.
Right.
So between those couple things and the job kind of going sideways, decided to move out to Florida. And my parents had a house here. My ex-wife at the time had a family out here. And so we thought it was a good move. And when I moved out here, like I said, I was here for about 2 or 3 months, and I said, where's the best hockey team, or where's the best league? Where's the best places to play? I went to, it was actually in Coral Springs. I'm sitting in the bar up top over the rink watching the game. And I'm like, whichever team comes up here and sits in the bar the longest, that's the team I'm going to jump on. So sure as heck, I'm sitting there. The game's end. I'm watching it. They come up, and this guy Henry, who's a Finnish guy, the Lions team, and that's a whole nother story. But for the most part, there's a huge influx of Finnish people after the war in Lake Worth. So there's a large population of Finnish. And so this team was the Lions. Half of them were all from Finland, and I got to know them, and they were my team for the next 10 or 15 years. And just great camaraderie. They would go to Finland and play teams. They would, cool. Everything from Christmas dinners to Thanksgiving dinners to you name it. It all comes back to hockey, but and that family stuff. But so kind of rambling, but
no, dude, that's part of your journey. It's exactly what I want to hear. There's a couple of things I definitely want listeners to understand from your perspective, and like watching it all grow, and things are changing here in Florida from a hockey perspective. But like, what do you do now?
Sure.
Like, what do you do, day to day?
Okay. I work with multiple different companies in the raising capital world on the side. I'm really kind of like a bird dog, so I'll put a company that needs money with an institution, private equity group, financial company. That's my side job. So I've been doing that for 30 years. So there's a number of...
So are you kind of like brokering VC money?
Not so much VC as it is private equity and investment banks. Okay. So if someone's either looking to do a private placement or getting private money or whatever it might be, I help raise capital for them.
Gotcha.
And that's always been my side job. So what that does is it gives me 5 or 6 projects every year that I'm constantly helping, in some way, shape, or form. It's not my full-time job, but once I just put them together, get them ready and packaged, and introduce them to some people, they're on their way, and I'm on to the next company. So that's always in the background. I've always had kind of like a day job where, this past 3 years I've been in marketing. I've been in marketing the last 20 years, but that recently came to an end, and I got involved with a startup company. My friend gave me a call about 9 months ago and said, hey, I've got this idea to do a company called PhotoOp. And PhotoOp is a mobile app that we've created that everyone takes videos, everyone takes pictures every day. And what happens is you put it on Facebook or Instagram, and it's kind of gone. And so gone from a perspective of getting fair value or money for it. So if I'm in Lahaina and I have a video of a fire and the house is burning, I'll throw that on Instagram or Facebook, and all the news stations around the world will go to Facebook or Instagram. They'll grab your video, give you a little photo credit.
Right.
They go make millions of dollars off the advertising on it. You, as the person that took that picture, you just had a cool picture or a video, but you didn't get any money for it, for the most part. What we want to do is our app does. You take that video, you upload it, it copyrights it, it watermarks it. Our AI tags everything it sees in there, which is I'll show it to you later. It'll come up with 30 tags. The AI is incredible. It tells you what's in there. You then have the ability to add description, your own tags, and then we have another AI model that comes in and prices it, just like surge pricing for Uber. If all the media buyers that are on the other side of this on our platform, based on the number of views, how unique it is, it'll basically price it out. And if they want to license that video and show it on their websites, their broadcasts, whatever it might be, let's say they're going to pay $200 for it. We split that with the person that took the video, and we keep 50-50. And so what that does is twofold. For the media buyers, it helps them consolidate all the different. If we build an army of people, there's 7 billion people. I think there's 700 million people that are taking 2,000 videos and pictures a day or a year. A year. That's all that content that literally goes unused, and so, or it doesn't get fair market value for it because people are just posting it all over the place, and the people that are making money on it are the TikToks of the world. So while you're scrolling, TikTok's the one that's making all the money. All the advertising money is all going to them, and you might have a cool video, you might get a lot of views, but for the most part, you're not getting fair market value for it. Now, influencers and other things like that, they've turned that into a business, and there's another part of that our app does, but for the most part, we're focusing on that news, that live, trend-worthy, buzzworthy type event that happens that the world wants to see, and we want to get you paid. And that's kind of the crux of the business that I'm in right now for Photo Op.
That's incredible, dude. I never even thought of it. Wow. Okay, yeah. I could totally see that. Because people are just leaving their information out there, and often I'll see something that is of newsworthiness, and then you got 50 other people that are copywriting it, taking their own screenshots, their own screen videos, and then just uploading as their own content and stuff like that. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's, dude. How do I get in? Are you raising capital for it right now?
I'm raising capital. We actually, two things that just recently happened, which are, fantastic for us. Stepping back to my friend Greg that got me involved with the company about 17 years ago, he had an idea to build a company called R Sports. And R Sports, I helped them write the business plan. I helped them raise the first 25, 50 grand, helped them do the projections. And so when he went to launch it, it was basically for amateur sports, kind of like the sports engines to do the stats on amateur games.
Okay.
During that, I helped him acquire a company, and with that acquisition came a large investor. And so the large investor now runs the company, and he took it over for the last 16 years. But it turned into a registration kind of app or product rather than doing the stats. And so I don't know if you know AAU, but AAU Sports is the largest amateur athletic union. It's been around since 1888 or something in the U.S. There's 52 sports. They govern all of it. So like USA Hockey, it's like a competitor to theirs. They have AAU Hockey. But so our sports got into them, and they're doing the registration for them. So coming full circle, Greg, who's my partner now, had the idea of, going back to the original idea, which is doing the video and other things for that company. So we're in the middle of doing a memorandum of understanding, which is pretty much written and signed to do the video for AAU. So AAU, so you have all these sporting events, right? And, there's other companies out there that do streaming, the Live Barns of the world, but there's a lot of knocks on it. You can't, it's hard to zoom in. You don't really get it. So
horrible. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it's not more user friendly.
They could correct it, but I don't want to tell them how.
Yeah, no, look, I'm grateful that it exists. Yeah. Right? I mean, I don't.
It's kind of all there is. But I mean,
yeah, exactly.
What we want to do for AAU and other businesses like this is you've got all the mom and dads taking videos. Okay. And so really, in today's world, people just want to scroll through and see the highlight. I want to see the goal. I want to see the shootout goal or whatever, the game-winning goal, or my kid's making a good play or hit or whatever it is. And what we're going to do is make an open platform where the parents, whoever wants to contribute videos, uploads that. It goes to your kid's profile, and it's they'll be competing for like prizes, best video, best whatever. So it's an incentivized to you to upload the video to that. Plus, you're building kind of a profile for your kid that's showing, here's all the goals, the highlights of my kid. So if coaches, scouts, whoever wants to view that, or you want to show that to them, you can share it and say, hey, take a look at my kid's reel. It's all contributed by parents and other people. So it's not going to be it's not a big ask in regards to, I don't have to get a film crew down there. I don't have to pay Live Barn. We're taking people's content that they're already filming of their kid. They upload it to the platform, and then they can share it, they can view it, they can consume the video and watch the videos all day long. And so that's what we're going to do for our sports.
And then is that part of the Photo Op? Like, and then people, if somebody wants to buy it, you price in a certain price, and then somebody buys it, you split the cost?
Yes.
Or you split the profit?
Yes. So it's a little bit different off the model where there's going to be a subscription base. So, you as a family, you sign up for, $19.95, a year or whatever. You have access to that. You can watch all the videos you want. You can upload videos, etc. However, how we think it is, and you see this all the time, whether it's ESPN or one of the local news agencies that want to pick up, hey, they're doing a little story on the local tournament, this is what happened, then they would be paying you as the contributor, the parent. So if you've got the goal, the video of the winning goal, and ABC wants to run a little story on it, they're going to have to pay you. And so that's how it's above and beyond just the contest that we do. You'll still get paid for if someone that wants to broadcast that or use it.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So good. I wish you the best of luck, man. Seems like it's really gonna, like, I'm interested. I'm interested just because I never understood what it's like, how important it is to build like a portfolio for your athlete.
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids competing in 3 different sports.
Yeah.
And there's no way that by the time they're, going to be heading into something much more serious, that somebody's going to watch hours and hours and hours of video. You'll need, here's a condensed version, and here's, you can scroll through for about 25 minutes, half an hour. And you can't evaluate the athlete as a whole, but you can certainly evaluate their skill base if they're able to do certain things, right?
Sure.
Especially now, like, it's not about goal scoring. The emphasis is probably a lot more on, for hockey specifically, about skating.
Yeah.
Skating. The rest you can build on to good skaters. I've seen it in my own eyes, guys that were like scored 50, 60 goals in the O consistently, didn't even look at them because they weren't such good skaters.
Yeah, it's and that's like a whole full conversation on who makes it and who doesn't. Watching Nikita's podcast that he did with you, I'm like, this kid's so far beyond his years, and a lot of that goes to his father. I've known his father for 20 years, and he made it to the show because of his grit and his determination to work harder than everyone else around him. It's not always about the skills. A lot of times it's about the drive, the putting in the hours, putting in the effort, all of that. So I commend that kid. He's a great friend of mine, but it's the mindset, and I think that's what he's trying to do now, is push that mindset of what it takes to get there. So I was going to go back to the photo op, just to say 2 other things.
Sure.
One, we got picked for, there's a large investor conference I'm going to December 12th and 13th up in Boston. That is 150 investors. I got to speak in front of 1,000 people. That's always fun. But that's a big opportunity for us. I'm pretty sure we're going to get funded for that. After that, I think we have I think we have a unicorn. I really do. I think this is
What's the raise?
It's about $1 million for the next round. So we're closing out our family round right now of about 250.
So you've done multiple raises?
No, it's just friends and family. So the 250 is just to finish up the app. We're looking to launch in the first quarter of next year. It'll all be built. We landed this guy that was a director of engineering out of Salesforce. He's been in and around Silicon Valley forever. He's done the work of 20 people. He's just absolutely phenomenal, and he could do anything out there. And he's working for us for stock in the beginning. So he believes in it so much, and we do as well, that we've gotten very far with very little capital. But we know it's going to take some dollars to get this and go to market with it, and that's kind of where we're at with that. So we are closing out the friends and family round before December 12th, and then after that, I think one of those investors is going to step up most likely, and then we're off to the races. Also, as part of that, I recently got picked to be on a reality show. So this reality show, everyone smirks when they say reality, but it's strictly towards entrepreneurs. So it's called The Blocks. It's on Prime TV. And this guy is that put it together they put together an incubator that they then turned into a reality show. So they invite, out of 20,000 something applicants, 60 companies to go there for a week. It's an intense. Every day you're in a pod there, and you have to win your pod, and then you have to present to the whole group. And then at the end of it, whoever wins the whole thing. But I'm filming that in March, and it'll probably be out in September. It'll be their 11th season. And if
what's the show called?
It's called Beta Blocks or The Blocks. They have one's on Facebook Watch and one is on. It's the same show, but I think it's under a different name. So betablocks.com is where you can find more information on it. But it's a fantastic thing that they take entrepreneurs through what it takes to launch your company from every single step away, from the marketing, the raising money, to positioning yourself, all of that stuff. And I've watched it for a while now, and it's what companies need. Like you said, it's amazing how some people don't realize some of the things of what they have at their fingertips, how to grow their business, even larger companies. And these guys really nail it. And I've been in around that startup world for so long that it's in my blood, between hockey and being an entrepreneur and raising capital and getting companies launched. That's who I am. Besides my friends and family come before everything in the world. But those are my two passions: is hockey and entrepreneurship.
Wow,
a lot going on. But
but how do you manage that? That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's trial and error. It's you like you said, scars. Yeah, I got scars all over me. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. And I haven't hit my home run yet. So I've had a lot of singles and doubles, and I've had some success. But it's the drive to finally reach the pinnacle of something. And so until you do, it's kind of like it's in your blood to keep trying. So it's almost like even in like hockey, even though I know there's absolutely zero shot I'll ever do it again, it's still that drive to get better and to play and to have fun and, compete, competing with your fellow guys and, making the cool play or getting the pat on the back or setting up someone else's play. It's what drives me.
So what you're actually saying is it could be boiled down to something that we all need. And without it, we're done. And that's purpose, right?
Yep.
If you don't know what you're waking up in the morning to do, if you don't know what your objective is, if you don't know what your goal is, you don't have purpose. You don't know why you need to wake up in the morning. You don't know where your next breath is coming from. Like you need to work towards something. Some people find it in faith. Some people find it in work, find it in sports, their family, and they do all these things in a combination of all those things. And it's sad you see a lot of youth today that get sucked into the social media world, that universe, and they lack purpose because they think that they're looking at all these other people pretending to be something they're not, maybe on their age, and they're like, holy shit, I'm never going to get there. Right?
Sure.
And you talk about scars. I mean, the success that you see of any individual for some reason people mock that or find that as a target. And like the minute somebody becomes successful, everyone's trying to rip them down. You didn't see the scars, the failures, the sleepless nights, the depression, the overthinking, the negativity that got them to persevere to get to that. I think I heard Dana White say it, and it's something, in a version of it I tell my kids, is like, if you could become a little bit of a savage, meaning you're willing to outwork and go through the uncomfortable times, the soreness, whether it's athletics, the mental strain, the losses, the injuries. If you can become even a little of a savage, everyone else is so soft that you will just eat their lunch.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. And clearly you haven't lost any of that passion or drive. I'm willing to bet that your athletic career, you probably have had some experiences in your life that you wish you could take back. Sure. that have been impacted towards your future, but you don't take it for granted. It seems like you have a lot of purpose, and it's dude, good on you, because you're a little bit older than me, but I'd venture to say that you got a lot more energy than me, at least at this point, because I'm going through it right now. Yeah. Like I'm in the thick of it through this journey of moving down here. It's been a mind fuck of epic proportions, and nobody really gives a shit, nor should they, right?
Right.
I complain, I whine, but I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
Because I know at the end what the outcome is. I got 3 little kids that are looking to me and my wife, and they're learning from what we do, not necessarily what we say. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It's really, really, really hard. My father-in-law said this before we moved. he said, change is good. And we as humans do everything to avoid change and our comfort and routines and all that. And change is good, but change is hard. Really, really hard. I'm learning to become a better version of myself every single day, but there are days that I just can't get up out of bed sometimes. But I realize that if I stay in bed, whatever it is that ails me isn't going to get any fucking better.
Sure.
So you just got to get up and go.
Yeah.
So I admire the stuff that you're doing. I mean, you said singles and doubles. It's a term that I've used as well because I was comfortable with singles and doubles all the time. They add up to an inside the park home run every once in a while if you do it right.
Sure.
And success is a different measure of different things, but I think that a lot of people that are successful, and that measurement doesn't have to mean just wealth, are extremely hard on themselves all the time.
Sure.
It's like, the parents that are doubting themselves as how good they are as parents are the ones that are actually doing the best job.
Sure.
Sure. I see.
And they're probably harder on themselves than everyone else.
Look, I'm sure you're hard on yourself. You said I haven't hit my home run yet, right? I can venture guess to say that the stuff you've given back to the community, the network that you have, and I always say your network is your net worth. If you weren't a success as a human being, these people wouldn't want to surround themselves or associate themselves with you.
Sure.
Right? So you can't take that for granted. But with that, I'm sure whatever it is that is your own demon is what's fueling your fire as well. So that's, there's something to be said about that.
Sure. And although the money may not have followed, I totally subscribe to what you just said as regards to successful in my mind is helping other people, getting, seeing that smile on their face, getting the thank yous for, whether I help them in business or whatever it might be. There may not be a dollar sign attached to that, but it's kind of like being a teacher and getting the feedback from kids from many years later. You were my best teacher. I get that from different guys that I help them either in life, in hockey, in business, whatever it might be. That is a huge satisfaction for me. And I think what success was when I started out my career is different than what it is today. But I still want to hit that home run, and it's not so much for the money. It's
sure, why not?
Money's great, but it doesn't define me at all, especially with my relationships. But it's a great thing to have. You mentioned earlier about something that gives you purpose, and a mentor one time told me people need someone and something to believe in, and I really started to think about that after he told me, and that something became the business and the hockey and the family and the friends and all that, and the family and friends were like the someone. I believe in them. I go to bat for them. They're whether it's my mom and dad or my siblings or my girlfriend or my kids, whatever it might be. That's kind of the end game purpose. It's like trying to help them have a better life or whatever it might be, or being there for them as a person. And then the something to believe in is my hockey and my business. And so that's the drivers for that. So
you have seen amateur hockey here and its evolution over the last little while. And I don't want to prime the conversation or your thought process, but where do you see it going and where have you seen it? I want to see, I think the last couple of years, because of COVID and the amount of people who moved down here from hockey hotbeds specifically, have put pressure on the rinks and the coaches and the higher level of expectations and organization. So I think it's it's going to start to hockey stick. But what did you see before and where do you see it going?
Sure. I'm going to step back and tie it all in. Back to that rink in Cheshire, Connecticut, where I grew up, and my aunt and uncle owned a piece of it. I didn't mention along the way in there was Bobby Hull, who was a huge mentor of mine, ended up living with my aunt and uncle when he played for the Whalers. And yeah, really cool. Taught me how to take a slap shot.
Did he have a good one?
Just a little. I'm kind of known around here for taking goalies' heads off. But
oh yeah, you got a clapper?
It's up there. It's kind of the one thing I did.
Have you ever measured it?
Yeah, it's like 106 miles an hour. But
no, fuck. That's like all-star ranking.
Yeah. Well,
Can you still do that?
Yeah, I can still do that. Yeah.
Fuck, no one wants to play with you in beer league. I don't want to be playing against you. I'd hate you.
That's what I hear all the time. But it's my one It's my one talent that I have left, so I use it all the time, and everybody breaks my stones, but it is what it is. But
fuck, if we're ever playing, if I ever get right, I am never going up against you. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's fun. So Bobby Hall, teaching me how to take a slap shot. But there was also my cousin Eric I played with growing up. Him, me, and Brian were on the line. And his brother Greg Richard, which he ran the pro shop at the rink. He became a business person. He moved down to Florida many, many years before me, probably 10 years before me. And I can tell you that he put hockey on the map down here. And I'll tell you how he did it. He started getting involved with the rinks down here. And he was great at putting all-star teams together. So what he would do each year is he'd take the best of the best in that midget category ready for high school. He'd take a team up to New England. They'd go around and they'd play 10 prep schools because, well, stepping back, he was an assistant coach at Avon. My cousin Eric went to Avon. So he knew all of the coaches up there. He would put a team down here, and he started like the all-star Florida team that would go up there and play against them.
Is that the equivalent to the Alliance now?
Yes. And so prior to that, Greg, I forget the name of the team at the time. I know he was out of Planet Ice, Skate Zone. He ran it out of a couple different rinks. But I don't want to say the Chikrins of the world, but Mike Vascavuz and some of the other guys, prior to those guys making it, I think he had 40-something guys in prep school that were making it to D1 down there from here. And so this is prior to the explosion of juniors. And so, people hear that anyone that started to get a lot of talent, they had to move out of state because unfortunately they're few and far between down here. And so
we just had this conversation with my wife.
Yeah. So it is what it is until the level down here becomes, 3 or 4 or 5 teams that are of the level up there, or if they get some junior teams down here. They're kind of in that area where if you want your kid to go to the next level, you got to get him on a team where everybody is as talented as him, at least at a certain level. As far as down here, from what I understand, and I haven't been around it forever, I coached back in 2004 a midget team, but knowing all the rinks and a lot of the parents down here, it's definitely been elevated. I know that when South Florida Hockey Academy was down here, they did great things. My friend Yanni, who was involved with that. Oli Okinen.
Radek Dvorak.
Yep.
I think Kriva Krasov was also a part of it.
Yep.
Okun.
All those guys. And unfortunately, they ended up, Oli went over to Finland, got a job over there, and it kind of disbanded. But I think the more that the NHLers that retire down here that become
so many of them people don't realize,
and their kids are getting involved, and then they start coaching. It literally is what happened when I grew up in Cheshire. So having Brian Leach's dad as a coach, All-American BC, he's teaching you something than the dad that took the job because he was the only one coaching you. Big difference. Coaches are everything at this stage of the game, in my opinion, because they're running the drills, they're giving you all the mindset, how to learn the hockey IQ. I think the good part is from a standpoint of you've got a lot of influx of the Canadians, from Europeans, from Russia, there's a lot. It's a melting pot down here in the U.S. So you've got from a adult hockey league. Everyone says, "What's the hockey like down there?" It's great because you've got these guys that come from all over the country and all over the world. There's a lot of D1 ex-pros, and so from that perspective, it's great. From the youth hockey, it's a matter of it's just getting good coaches, and then hopefully over a number of years, you've got good junior programs and things that are offered to them. I've heard things kicked around about Texas and Florida trying to get D1 hockey involved. So it's definitely exploding in Florida. I think Tampa winning the Stanley Cup a couple times, the success of the Panthers, having success. It's funny. I've been going to the Panthers for as long as I've been here, and I've seen it when there's 10 people in the stadium, and I've been there when it's sold out. And it's like when you win, it's the fair weather fans, but they're all from different markets. They all, there's more people at a Toronto game from Toronto here. It's cheaper to fly down. It's cheaper to fly down here.
Although after this last run, it's changed. Last year when we went to games,
I've
picked up tickets for look, I was down in the tournament with my son in April of last year. And and we were also there in September. And I have a family friend that had Seasons, just gave us the tickets, right? But Seasons are like gold. It's like real estate gold because you also have a licensing. To take my son to a game, I was about 25 rows up, lower bowl. That and popcorn, hot dog, and whatever, $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah.
One night.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
To take a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts.
I can get like a flex pack a season here with better seats, and I won't spend that kind of. But prices have gone up here.
Sure.
Now because of all the success of Tampa and the Panthers, you got a lot of kids that are saying to their parents, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to learn to skate."
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Right.
great.
But so like, it is still very disorganized.
Yeah.
In some aspects, but
People don't realize there's like there's hockey in Florida. I'm like, I can drive to 4 different rinks and 8 sheets of ice in 25 minutes. And
that's a fairly recent phenomenon. Like there's 2 just came on board for Boca Ice.
Yeah.
Another one's going up in Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale.
Is that 1 sheet? Or is it going to be?
I think it's 1 or 2. And Palm Beach Garden is kicking around the idea of doing one. There's one in West Palm, one in Lake Worth, Coral Springs, Pines. There's a lot of rinks down here, and there's a lot of hockey. It's what are the alternatives? I think when I was in California at one time, they told me roller hockey surpassed the baseball participation, and so it grew out there huge. And I think in Florida, hockey's getting really big, and it's you get in from the heat. There's a lot of aspects to it. It's a little expensive. Obviously, it's an expensive sport.
It is definitely an expensive sport.
Yeah.
It's not. There are barriers to entry here, but I think there's some wonderful programs with equipment being donated and stuff like that. But when you get into travel, anything, I think it's comparably expensive. Whether it's baseball, soccer, basketball, hockey, anything travel. I mean, I got one of my daughters is in pre-team in gymnastics. She's only 5. It's more expensive than hockey.
Sure.
It adds up real quick, and then when you add in the travel time and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But these are the memories. Like when
it's priceless.
When I'm on my deathbed, a long time from now, I'm never going to say I should have worked more.
Sure.
Right. But I understand the flip side of that is that a financial strain is something that many people encounter until they don't. Right. So you have to. It's a balancing act between the two things.
Sure.
I think you and I could have done this for another 3 or 4 hours, to be honest with you, and have only scratched the surface of some of the topics that we can talk about. But I think that there's going to be a lot of value to the listeners for something like this because you've come from up north, you're now down here, you've had a hockey journey, you have a business journey. You're certainly not giving up on either one of those. Nope. Right, I'm gonna venture a guess that you're not getting drafted anytime soon, unless they open up another division, which I don't know why hockey doesn't do.
The over 60 might be in my future.
But don't you think that would be a cool concept?
It would be,
right? I think you'd have people lining up for it.
Sure, the Masters League.
Yeah, they'd be in the twilight of their both business careers and hockey. I don't think it would be like such a big money play, but I just think from an optics perspective, it would incentivize a lot more people to get active and get out. I mean, that's just me, Gary. If you're listening, I'd like to invest in that early.
Sure,
I'd like to be a part of it. But I'm really grateful that you were on the show.
Great.
I think I'm going to have you on again in a little while. I also want to know how the app is doing, Photo Op, and see where you're at in that. In a little bit of time, and maybe get a bunch of people to jump on the bandwagon once you guys go public.
Sounds good.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Take it easy.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye.